Hello, my friends. It's Matt Leger again, back with another episode of Philosophy Corner. Not sure what episode this is now. I've lost track. Doesn't really matter. Just kind of doing these on a whim whenever, the moment grabs me. So this one is going to be on a topic that I'm actually still sorting out internally. It's something that I started thinking about maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And it just kind of intuitively came to me. Where this really spawned, for me anyway, is I've been working towards, over the past 2 or 3 years, maybe, I've been working towards providing meat for my family, which means hunting. And hunting in Canada has, there's a lot of steps involved. There's a lot of things that you have to do. There's a lot of things you need to take care of first in order to do it responsibly and to do it on the up and up, right? It's very easy to just pick up a gun on the black market or something like that and just go shoot an animal. But there's more to it than that, right? If you're a thinking and feeling individual, if you are responsible and you understand that you have unlimited liability as a man or a woman, then you also understand that it's your duty to make sure that when you do something like that, especially something that involves taking a life, that you're doing it ethically, responsibly, humanely. You know, you're checking off all the boxes to do the right thing like you would with anything else. So it's a huge undertaking, and it's something that I've obviously been taking very seriously. And I've been contemplating, you run through it in your head. Maybe this is an easier process for some people than others. For me, I've been sort of visualizing and imagining myself hunting, shooting a deer or something, and what would it feel like? What sort of emotions would be going through me at that time? Would I feel guilty about it? Would I feel bad? Would I be excited? Would I be exhilarated? Would I cry? Like, who knows? Because I've never done it. The only time I'll share a deeply personal experience. The only time I've ever purposefully taken an animal's life was only about a year ago, where we just had too many chickens. Uh, we ended up getting a whole bunch of them whenever they were very young, and the people we got them from were not sure if they were males or females. Sorry about that. We got our birds when they were very young, and the people we got them from were they sexed them to the best of their abilities, but they weren't 100% sure if they were male or female. So we just kind of took the birds. It was a better value, but at the time we didn't know any better to think, what are we going to do with all these extra roosters? Because when you end up having six, seven, eight roosters, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems in your coop. You're going to be basically feeding animals. I don't want to say for nothing, but a farm is supposed to be productive. It's supposed to um, help you to survive and to provide for you and your family. So when you have birds that unfortunately are just a draw on the resources, on the limited resources that you have, you kind of have to make a decision of, do I want to keep feeding these birds? Now, don't get me wrong, I tried my best to find homes and rehome them before, you know, dispatching them, or I don't know what the right term is to use. Not euthanize, but um, culling, I guess, is the right word. But see, even this still makes me feel very uncomfortable because it was a big deal. It was a big deal to kill these two birds. Now, when we took animals on our farm, and we took many years, we were gardening and we were farming, but we didn't really have animals. And when we finally made that decision to bring chickens and ducks to our property, we did understand that there would be a time where a chicken or a duck may need to be put down. We've lost a few, not very many. We lost one to a hawk attack. That was a learning lesson. We lost another chicken to a fox attack. You know, that was another learning lesson for all of us. And we've had two birds that we tried our best to take care of that were sick to begin with, that had neurological disorders, and they just didn't make it. You know, we did our best. So we've lost six birds total in the last year and a half, I would say. You know, four of those, I would say, were somewhat beyond our control, but two of them were intentional. And this is where I want to talk about this for a moment. So, my wife and I decided that, yes, when we're going to bring animals on the property, there may come a day where we're going to have to put one down. If one of them gets sick, if one gets injured, you have to do the right thing and dispatch them in a humane manner so that they don't suffer needlessly. It's just par for the course. It comes with the territory. If you're not prepared to do that, you probably shouldn't have animals on your property. So we did accept that and we did realize that, but it's different to think about it, process it, ahead of time internally than to actually do it and live it. Very different thing. So we at that time made the decision that we have too many birds. The other thing is they were fighting with each other. Roosters can be territorial. They can fight for their rank on the pecking order, and that's what was happening. Is they were fighting, they were injuring. They were also because there were so many males, they were mounting the females more than they could handle. So the females were scratched up and clawed up, and they were just taking a beating. So we had to do something. Now, we did manage to rehome a few of the roosters, but there were still, at the beginning, especially when we couldn't get any takers, we couldn't even give them away, unfortunately. Um, so the only answer left was to dispatch them. But of course, you never waste any part of the animal. So we decided to harvest two of our roosters. My wife was going to dispatch one, and I was going to dispatch the other. And that's what we ended up doing. It was very difficult for both of us. It was a huge process of internal dialogue, internal strength, reasoning, and it made me realize, in combination with another incident that I'll touch on real quick, but it made me realize, do I want to continue to kill animals? Now, again, the chickens and ducks that we have on our property, something may happen. There may come a day where I'm going to have to, snap another neck. Or, if we bring out other animals and they get sick or injured or something happens, it may be putting a bullet in their head. And it should be a serious thing. It shouldn't be done casually. It shouldn't be done carelessly and, without really thinking about it and the implications. Because, okay, you're taking an animal's life, but what impact is that going to have on you? What impact is that going to have on the rest of your family who've been, caring for this animal every day in and day out, and then all of a sudden they're not there, like there's a lot that goes into it. Now, real quick, I'll touch on this other thing. It's going to be silly, and I've talked about this on another video, but for me, it's not silly. It's a serious thing. So the only other time I can recall that I killed an animal, and this was accidental, is I was just driving down the road, wasn't speeding or anything, and a squirrel darted out in front of me, and I tried to stop, but of course, I'm not going to veer off the road to avoid hitting a squirrel. Unfortunately, I couldn't stop in time and I ran him over. Uh, I saw him out of the rear view mirror, and he was kind of, I could tell he had gotten messed up, but it almost looked like he was able to or walk away to the side. So I went to see a friend, didn't stay there long, but on the way back, I said, I'm going to stop and see if that squirrel's okay. Really, I should have just taken care of it right then and there. But when I came back, he was indeed dead. So I thought, maybe this is a sort of test to see if I'm ready to start harvesting animals. Am I ready to start, you know, hunting and slaughtering animals? So I thought, let me practice what I preach about not wasting any part of the animal and take this poor squirrel home. Uh, I had my dog with me at the time too, and she was kind of looking at this thing like, is this for me? I'm like, nope, this is mine. But, I took it home and I had taken a hunting education course prior to this, and I knew how to field dress a squirrel, and that's what I did. I field dressed that squirrel. There was not a lot of meat on it. It actually wasn't very good because I think I had punctured something or other, not the guts, but some type of a scent gland or something like that, and it kind of tainted the meat. So it was not great, but I was able to bring myself to do it only because this animal was already dead. And I might as well do something with it. So what I didn't use, what we didn't eat, we gave to the wild animals around here. There's a rock that we bring all animals that have died that we can't salvage. We bring them over there. We call it Offering Rock. And that's where the wild animals will come, usually foxes and stuff. And they'll come and take whatever we leave there. So between these two experiences, I've really been put to the test on whether or not I want to continue to do this because I have a big, big heart for animals. Everybody in my family does. We love animals. We care for a lot of animals. We take in a number of rescues, to the best of our capacity anyway. And we don't like killing animals. We don't like hurting animals. Who does, right? And if you do, maybe there's probably something wrong with you. But hunting is really, to me, no different. I have to keep processing it internally. I have to keep thinking about it. I have to keep considering it. And really, I'm not going to know if I'm doing the right thing or not until I hold a gun up to a deer and pull the trigger. And then and only then will I know if I've made the right decision for myself or not. Now, I want to be a responsible meat eater. I want to accept the fact that if I eat meat, animals have to die. That's just the way it is. I say this to my daughter all the time. She doesn't like the association of animals dying with her eating meat, but you have to accept the fact that if you're going to eat meat, you are okay with animals dying for your sustenance. And you have to find somewhere in you that's okay with that concept, in all facets. So, yeah, I mean, I can't overstate it. It's such a big deal. And all the power to you if you're able to easily make that decision for yourself and your family. I'm not saying that if you're able to kill an animal and provide meat for your family easily that you're a bad person. Not at all. It's just everybody is different. Everybody kind of processes that whole thing differently. And for me, I'm taking my time with it because I'm still not 100% sure if that's something I want to do. I have all the equipment, I have everything I need, I have most of the knowledge. I just need to contemplate the idea a little bit more. However, that said, okay, now gone on this this first half of the topic for quite some time, but it's to set the stage for this next part. And I'll try to make this somewhat concise as best to my abilities. But you have to ask yourself, what sort of animal is a human? Is it a herd animal? Is it a pack animal? Is a human a predator or is it a prey animal, right? And I'm not saying predator in the sense of you're evil and you stalk people and things, and predator as in the animal, right? In nature, right? There are predators and there are prey. There are pack animals and there are herd animals. And where on that scale do humans fall? I think that the more I consider this idea, the clearer it becomes. Humans are one of the few animals that have the ability to be both. So, and you see this in society all the time, right? I don't like using the word society because what society are we talking about here? Your society, my society, our society? What's this society thing? What I mean by that is in our world, people have the choice of whether they want to group up with a bunch of other people, right? I'm not going to necessarily use the word sheep or cow, but those are conventional, classic, herbivores and herd animals. They're grazers. They're ruminants. They have a lot of things in common. Okay, humans can be like that, and there are safety in numbers. That's why I think some people decide that they want to be a herd animal. Does that necessarily mean that they're prey? We'll explore that a little bit here in this video, but that's something that you have to figure out for yourself. And that's something that I've really been giving a lot of thought to because it has a lot of implications in life. It has a lot of implications in the way that we live, and that where we're founded in our own personalities. But like I was saying, there is safety in numbers. So there's an advantage. There's a strategy to being a herd animal. You can kind of disappear in the crowd. And as long as you're like everybody else and you blend in, you're not going to stick out. You're going to have safety in numbers. The predators of the world will really not be able to get to you as long as you follow the herd, right? And you see that in certain people's mentality. That's just the way that they're programmed, and they're not interested in changing that. They'll do whatever the herd does for the good of the herd. And I'm not here to criticize that or judge that. That's fine. That's if that's the way that those humans want to live, they're entitled. They have a right to live that way. Now, there are of course disadvantages. Of course, there's advantages to being in a herd. There are disadvantages to being in a herd. Now, if we look at pack animals, a pack is different than a herd. Okay, packs are generally smaller. Packs generally consist of predator animals. Packs are a little bit more social in nature, socially oriented. They have a certain hierarchy. Um, you may have that in the herd animal, but it's not going to be as pronounced. I don't know if that's because of the amount of numbers that are involved, but in the pack, even with large packs, there's, when we think of wolves, for example, it's the classic example. You've got your alpha and your beta, your delta and your your omega and whatever. But you also have an interesting phenomenon, which is the lone wolf, and is the solitary animal. It's not just in wolves, but in a lot of predator animals, you see this. It's one animal on their own. And the interesting thing with that, they call that the sigma wolf. Um, the interesting thing with that is the sigma has the ability to be an alpha. He has the ability to be, or she has the ability to be a beta or an omega, or to be all on its own. They can go either way. They're very fluid, they're dynamic, they can change and adapt very easily, right? Whereas an alpha is generally always an alpha unless another bigger, stronger alpha comes along and takes their place. So you can see that they're very different in nature, right? The herd animal's behavior is drastically different than a predator's. Now, if we relate this back to humans again, I believe that we have the ability to also be predator animals. And again, this is not to say that you're a bad person, that you're evil, that you're looking to take advantage or hurt somebody or kill somebody. It really has nothing to do with that. It's just your innate nature. Are you a follower or are you a leader? Right? And again, it's not a judgment thing. If you're a follower, that's fine. We need followers in life, right? We need people that go along with things to facilitate the whole process. But we also need leaders. Now, as an anarchist, that's very difficult for me to say, leaders, right? But I think we can have leaders in an anarchic state, or kind of a oxymoron there, but in an anarchic society, even that doesn't make sense. What am I trying to say? With anarchy, you can have leaders, right? For example, um, in a small village of Native Americans or Aborigines, you can have leaders that are part of a council, and that's not necessarily a government, right? We're kind of getting off on a little tangent here, but it's important to see that this also has implications to the whole herd pack animal thing. But you can have leaders, you can have people who are looking out for the overall welfare of the village, of the people, without necessarily being rulers, right? And that's a topic for another video. But I just wanted to plant the seed that these things are related, right? Especially in our human world. You can see the predator mentality in certain advertisement campaigns, right? In certain corporations, especially public service corporations. They're very predatory in a way. They're looking out for the herd, but from a predator's perspective, which is a little strange. When you direct, when you herd animals like a dog, like a herding dog, you're essentially acting as a predator. So you can see where this is all going. What do you want to be? Do you want to disappear and blend in with the crowd? Or do you want to be a strong, vital member of a pack, right? It's really a preference thing, it's a choice. Or maybe it's circumstantial, maybe it's just where you end up. But we're not bound by that role by any means. We can choose at any time to become more predator or more prey or more herd oriented or more pack oriented. So that's kind of the idea that I wanted to spin here, is that humans are one of the few, if not the only, creature that can really decide for itself whether it wants to be a herd animal or a pack animal. If it wants to be uh, predatory in nature or if it wants to be prey, right? Which is who would want to be prey, right? But that's not that's not the only definition of prey, is something that gets eaten. A prey animal is encompasses, the rabbits of the world and maybe a lot of birds and deer and cows, like we need these animals just as much as the wolves and the bears and the coyotes, you know? Everywhere we look in nature, we see this predator prey thing going on, right? And human life is no different. There's still, in this day and age, even though we really should know better at this point and be able to control this tendency with more intention, there still exists this predator prey thing with humans just the same, right? And you see it with the whole slave master relationship, or the employer employee relationship, or the even in some circumstances the father or mother and child. It's really it's really ubiquitous, this theme. And I think where our power in all this lies is in our choice to decide for ourselves if we want to be a predator or a prey, if we want to be a pack animal or a herd animal. For me personally, I believe I am a predator. I believe that I am a pack animal because the herd mentality just doesn't make sense for me. For me, right? And that's not to say it may not make sense for you or someone else. When I look around at my circle of family and friends, I see mostly herd animals. And that's where I sort of stick out in the crowd because that's just not for me. And if I, knowing who I am and where my comfort levels are, if I were to try to be a member of the herd, I would stick out like a sore thumb and I would be picked off by an actual predator who would come along and say, there's an easy kill for me because this guy clearly doesn't fit in with his herd. That's what the predators look for in nature. When you look at the animals, the predators are always looking for a weak animal or a young animal that's not as fast as the rest, that's not able to keep up with the herd. And those are the ones that get picked off, right? They're sort of doing a service in a way. They're keeping the herd fit and smart and together. So these things all work together, right? It's like I was saying in one of the other videos. Is there really a difference between the predator and the prey? Are we not talking about the same thing now? Right? Is there really a difference between the flower and the bee? Or are they sort of different aspects of the same thing? And I think that's what we find here with the predators and the prey. And, I'm always contrasting that with the herd and pack animal because when we say predator and prey, there's a lot of assumptions there. There's a lot of implications. So sometimes it's easier to think of it from a pack versus a herd. But you're really saying the same thing. And I think, again, probably my Taoist nature that's helping me see it this way, but they are two aspects of the same thing. They cannot exist without the other. The predator cannot exist without the prey, and the prey cannot exist without the predator. Things get instantly out of balance, as we've seen so many times in nature where mankind tries to intervene and remove an animal, overharvest an animal, reintroduce an animal. It never goes as swimmingly as it's assumed it will go because nature is a delicate balance. And if we come along with our big brains and think that we can play God and just mix and match things in the ecosystems, we're going to have a very big surprise, as we've seen, right? Things are not as easily tweaked that way. And even when they try to repair the damage that's done and reintroduce predators into a herd heavy area, it never goes as planned. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it kind of works out. But I don't think it's ever going to work out back to the way that it was originally, the way that it developed naturally. So, all things to consider. This video has gone on long enough. I think I've made my points, but I would love to hear from the community and let me know what you think of this idea that humans can be either predator or prey, and they can belong to either a herd or a pack, and that it does play into our mentality and our overall, behavior. So let me know what you think. Again, I'm always welcome to different topic ideas. If there's something that you'd like me to cover or look at or start a discussion on, I'd be more than happy to. Thank you for watching. You're amazing if you were able to get to the end of this. And again, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. Let me know what you think. what's on your mind, what's going on. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Be well.